my bad, y'all. Let me get that off the screen. Sorry about that. Bells and belts. What's going on, everybody? Your boy, man, up here with my tag team partner, Joey. Cedric's not able to join us. How you doing today, Mr. Joey?
Well, I'm alive and well. I woke up this morning, and that's always a plus.
Hey, I'm glad you said that. You know what? That deserves this right here.
Right.
Oh, man. So today's topic, we're going to talk about our top 10 favorite wrestlers in the year of 1992. Now, I know last time we did this, I know I did add in a couple of tag team wrestlers at that time. I'm not going to do that this time. But with that being said, Joey, do you want to go ahead and introduce our special guest?
Well, that's right, because Cedric is not here this week. But don't worry, we got you covered. We brought back our good friend, former WWE official and long time professional wrestler, our great friend Wes Adams.
Woo! All right, there go Mr. Wes right there. All righty, how you doing today, sir?
Doing fantastic. How you guys?
Oh man, it's always great to have you on with us, man. We appreciate you coming on here with us today.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and get the show started. Ring that bell.
Talking about 1992, man. Me and Wes were talking about this offline too. 1990
here, because the real golden era died around 1990, and then things started declining in 91. You really had to be a wrestling fan to be watching it in 92. As good of a year as it was, that was the first of about a 4-year period where the business was deep in the toilet. I mean, so deep that even Owen would have said, "Hey, don't flush that. That's pretty low." So looking at 92 is going to be a very fun trip.
And now that you mentioned that, a lot of the WWF superstars suddenly got smaller.
They did. Going for the leaner look.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior, like he dropped about 40 pounds on his return at WrestleMania 8, and he's missing some deltoids and some.
And all of a sudden, everybody all of a sudden started wearing singlets.
Yeah. Ultimate Warrior's in a singlet. Randy Savage had a shirt on, like all the time. It's oh man. Yeah, the six packs were disappearing and the muscles were getting smaller, and like for a lot of guys, and yeah. A lot of people know what we're talking about. That's around the time Vince McMahon got indicted, the steroid trial right before that. So it was time for guys. I don't think the guys necessarily came off of it all, but they certainly reduced the usage in order to create the illusion that they weren't using these products.
The rib is they all had to get off of it, but then over here in the WBF, everybody's still to the gills.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that was a good one. That's a good little history lesson. See, we give y'all a history lesson before we do our top 10. I'm gonna go ahead and check in on some of the comments here. Got Old Head here. What's going on, sir? Got Platinum Swords. This should be an easy list. All my favorites.
The whole Royal Rumble.
And then he said, "What's up, fellas?" I know he meant to put the fellas, with the S.
Okay, we got an S.
All right, so let's go ahead and get our top 10 going here. So just remember, we want y'all to count down with us from 10 all the way down to number 1. So as we go along, we're going to discuss what will make these people our favorites, what we liked about them, and, some of the matches they had, stuff like that. So
we also had a lot of Facebook comments. We got the YouTube comments. We got a lot of Facebook comments on here, too, we want to look at real quick before we get to moving here.
I'm not seeing them just yet.
Oh, well, yeah, there's a bunch. Okay. Well, I will say at least hello to Antonio Mendoza, Nesha, Cedric's out there watching tonight instead of being on, and Generic Jobber. All of them commented. Sorry, we're not putting your comments up on here, but I do see you out there, and thank you for commenting. And yes, Cedric said something about his spidey sense went off because somebody was talking about the Macho Man. And yes, the Macho Man was wrestling in a shirt around this time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing the we'll figure that out as we go along. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get the show going. We're gonna start with our number 10 favorite wrestler of 1992. Let's go ahead and start with our special guest here. Mr. West, do you want to go ahead and start, sir?
I'll kick us off. All right. So when I was looking at this list, my number 7 and number 10, I nearly flip-flopped, and we'll talk about 7 a little bit. But my number 10 pick for 1992 is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Ric Flair came to the WWF in August, so he pretty much started the year off fresh. You knew it was going to be an exciting year in the WWF because Ric Flair would come in after being an NWA, WCW guy forever. He came in, he won that awesome Royal Rumble in 92. He was a champ till WrestleMania. He was all over TV. He had the Macho Flair affair, the affair with Elizabeth, the original Photoshops. And he was just all over the program. The reason I have him at number 10 is because he did not hold the championship very long. And when he dropped it to the Macho Man, they continued that feud. The main event for SummerSlam, the world title match, was Savage and Warrior. Flair didn't even have a match on the card. He regained the belt. He lost it a month later, and by November, he was on his way out. But he spent most of 1992 all over the place. He had his ups and downs, but that is my number 10, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
All righty.
Just so you mentioned it, that's also my number 10. And again, I did not know, I did not pay attention to Wes's list. But it happened to be my number 10 as well. And for a lot of the same reasons you said there, he was champion twice during the year, but his reigns were both short. In his second reign, really, he was just the guy that carried the belt to Bret Hart. But nonetheless, I was a huge Ric Flair fan myself. And definitely, like Wes said, he was still featured pretty heavily and always in the main event storyline there, and used very well for a guy that was already in his 40s by this time. I think that's one big thing a lot of people don't realize. In 1992, he was already in his early 40s.
Yeah.
Wow, he was going strong at that time too.
Yeah.
All righty, my number 10 is going to be a guy that won his first championship. Major championship, let me put it like that. Let me reword that. In 1992, and I'm talking about this gentleman right here. Talking about The Undertaker. Of course, he debuted a couple of years before that, but then, he won the title, kind of solidifying who he would become to this day. And
Wait a minute. I don't think The Undertaker won the WWF Championship in 1992.
Well, looking at it, when I looked it up, it said that's what he won the Big Eagle in 92. So if I'm wrong,
no,
I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say
that's what it said when I looked it up.
No, he won it in when did he win it? He won it in
91.
Won it in late 1991.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's what it told me. So okay. But yeah, going by what I was saying there, because like I said, that's what it said. And, of course, that solidified who this man will become here, the living legend, I guess you could say. But before all that, the guy was basically was the man that everybody would love to come to for advice and stuff like that. So you got to give it up props to the Undertaker.
Yeah, he and Hogan had that. They had that deal at the end of 1991 around Survivor Series, right?
Yeah.
Where he won the belt, but then Hogan got it back or whatever, and then it was held up for the Royal Rumble, which is how Flair got it. But
yeah,
we would see Undertaker really in 1992 is where we saw the babyface run of the Undertaker, where we get him in the most incredible heel Jake the Snake Roberts at WrestleMania 8 in that incredible match they had. Great storytelling. That's probably the best match Undertaker had to date, in his time in the company, in this year and a half in the company. By that time, was with Jake Roberts at that time.
I can agree with that.
So cerebral in the ring, definitely had some good stuff.
Trying to figure out why these why Facebook messages are not coming up. I don't know why Facebook's not coming up. Y'all seem like we might be having some issues. So if y'all can come on over to YouTube so we could see your comments, that would be great. You see any number 10s over there, Joey?
Yeah, it did say here. Oh, I'm sorry. Generic Jobber put Big Van Vader. He said that WCW needed a monster heel, and boy, he was hit. And I was like, yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. And then Cedric also made a comment about the Flair and Savage feud with Ms. Elizabeth in it, and that doctored Photoshop photo. Call it Photoshop. It wasn't. It was whatever we did back in the early 90s for that, where Flair put himself in there, by the pool with Ms. Elizabeth and stuff. But hey, they got the heat. They got the heat in that match. So it was good stuff.
I'm seeing this one right here from Planosaurus. He says Martel for his number 10. All right, y'all keep the comments coming. I'm sorry I can't put them on screen. I don't know what's going on, but let's go ahead and get this one going. All right, Mr. West, what's your number 9 now, sir?
All right, number 9 is one of the all-time nicest people that I ever had the pleasure of working with in the business. That is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Ricky, he came back to WCW towards the end of 91. Immediately won the tag belts with Dustin. You remember he was a surprise mystery partner for Dustin after Barry Windham was injured. They held those titles into early 92. He was part of that 5-star match War Games that they had that year against the Dangerous Alliance. He won the television title at Clash of Champions, closed out the year tag team champion again with Shane Douglas. So, he pretty much spent 92 as a champion and in the top angles. They didn't really put him in the world title picture because WCW's world title picture that year was it was super crowded. It was hot. They had a lot to work with. But that's my number 9, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Can't go wrong with him. All righty there, Mr. Joey. Who you got today, sir?
All right, my number 9 is Flying Brian Pillman. I love this. This was an interesting year for Pillman too, because he's most of the early part of the year he was in that light heavyweight title picture there, wrestling guys like Brad Armstrong and Scotty Flamingo and some of those guys. But by the end of the year, we got the heel turn of Brian Pillman, and he started teaming with Stunning Steve Austin. And we got the early kind of formation of the Hollywood Blondes that would roll into 93, where we'd see them get the matching gear and the vests and really go into that tag team mode. But 92, he was still running hot as a babyface until he wasn't. And then the heel stuff got hot, started getting hot with him and Austin kind of gelling together. And yeah.
Okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. All right. Speaking of that, I like that segue. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but this is my number 9, Steve Austin. That's Stunning Steve, but way before he came Stone Cold. Look at that man with that blonde hair. Look at that. All that golden locks just flowing in the wind. And y'all know what belt he's holding right there. The NWA/WCW TV title. However you want to view that belt. I mean, to me, this man here couldn't do no wrong. You know what I'm saying? If it was another year, he'll probably be higher on my list. But right now, because during this time, I got to put him number 9. We're Stunning Steve on this one right here. Oh, man. Let's see here. You see any number 9s over there, Joey?
Let's see if anybody's posted their number 9. All right. Generic Jobber says Ric Flair for his number 9, simply because he put over Bret Hart on his way out of the WWF. You're kind of skipping ahead there. He actually put over Mr. Perfect on his way out. That was a great match on Monday Night Raw. A lot of people forget, but that was actually at the beginning of 1993. Yeah, he actually kind of feuded there at the end with Mr. Perfect and put him over clean on Raw. But yeah, the match with Bret Hart, even though it was non-televised, it's one of those matches I go back and watch now too, because it was still Bret's crowning moment of becoming the WWF champion. And we'll get into that later. I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about Bret Hart later, but great choice from Generic Jobber picking Ric Flair as his number 9.
All right, I got this one right here. Platinum Source says his number 9 is Jim Duggan, one of the few baby faces he liked it growing up. I mean, oh,
you can't deny that Jim Duggan was over, but I mean, in '92, I mean, if we're talking specifically '92, you know, they didn't have him doing anything that year. I mean, he had no major angles. He was just kind of there.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
6-man tags and 8-man tags and stuff like that.
Like, you know, when Hogan left for that year and left that void, that would have been a perfect opportunity for Duggan to at least move up the card a little bit. But I guess Vince and them just didn't see it for one reason or another. It's a shame.
Well, at least Duggan's body didn't change during the aforementioned time.
It did not.
Duggan was on the cheeseburger diet a long time before that, so he didn't have to worry about that. He wasn't on the stuff. So,
oh man, that was a good one. That was a good one.
He might have been using some other stuff, but it wasn't steroids. I'll tell you that.
Oh, all righty. What you got there for number 8, there, Mr. West?
Right, number 8, another returnee to WCW from late '91, and that is Ravishing Rick Rude.
Oh yeah.
Yep, Rick Rude. He came back at the Halloween Havoc '91, and that man was he was the hottest heel, arguably in WCW for '92. I think it was a close run between him and Vader. Arguably, I would say Rude had more heat, more crowd heat from Vader. Not that Vader didn't have heat, but Vader was so scary that you were almost scared to boo him. Right. You know, he was a monster heel. He was a different kind of heel from Rick Rude. But Rick Rude, he held that United States title for nearly the whole year. He had those feuds with Sting, with Koloff, with Steamboat. He was the centerpiece of the Dangerous Alliance. Again, a key piece of that 5-star War Games match at Wrestle War '92. Rick Rude was '92. I mean, that's one of the best years of a heel in the business. I personally, again, if he would have been up the card, maybe in the world title picture, maybe had a brief run, he would have definitely been higher. But, you know, again, a year with the United States title back then is not, you know, that's nothing to sneeze at. So that's why he is my number 8.
Okay. Generic Jobber also, I want to point out, he listed Ravishing Rick Rude as his number 8 too, and talk about the epic U.S. title run through 1992. And you talk. Well, I want to say about Rude real quick too. Like, and I'll mention him later too because he's on my list. But Rude had more heat because Vader couldn't be a chicken shit heel, right? But Rude could be a badass when he needed to, but he knew when to be the chicken shit too. Like against the biggest baby faces, against guys like Sting and Ron Simmons and those guys, he knew when to turn it up and be the chicken shit and get the heat too. So
and nobody sold an atomic drop like Rick Rude did.
Yeah. He was great at selling all the way around. The inverted atomic drop and the traditional atomic drop weight. He was great.
All right, who you got there, Joey?
All right, my number 8 was Stunning Steve Austin. There you go. That's the proper world television title for 1992 there that he would go into with and everything. Still on that run with the TV title and the Dangerous Alliance, but again, had some great matches and would finish up the year with starting to team up with Flying Brian Pillman as the Hollywood Blondes. So I really like that for him, and I felt like you could Austin all through the 90s in all of his years coming up, you could see that improvement every single year, all the way up into his WWF career too, and how he just seemed to get better with time every single year, no matter what he was doing. But I love Steve Austin, so especially at that time, so he had to be on my list.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, of course. All right, my number 8 is going to be, what would I be without mentioning, you know, I'm from the state of Texas, so of course I got to mention this gentleman. You know, come on now, you know, the feud that he had with, I can't think of the top of my head right now, God, it's killing me. But anyway, it'll come to me. Over the IC titles, what I meant to say, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich here. I mean, come on now. I know I'm finna get ready to skip a little bit here, but I got to mention this as well too. It was kind of weird seeing him tag team with the Ultimate Warrior. I don't know. I just felt like he was only made for a singles run. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, I know it just felt weird to me, but I got to put the Texas Tornado on my list as well too.
Well, I mean, in reality, though, Kerry wasn't wrestling for the Intercontinental title in 1992, and he wasn't teaming with the Warrior. He was.
I know he wasn't teaming with the Warriors back in '92, but I'm just saying.
I'm just saying he like by 92 though, unfortunately for Kerry, like he was like Duggan. He wasn't doing much.
He wasn't long after the Royal Rumble gone. He was in the 92 Royal Rumble, I believe, and then he wasn't long after he was gone. But he was while he was there though, man, he was on fire. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. So Joey, do we got any number 8s?
Just Generic Jobber was the only one I see that put up a number 8.
Okay. All right. Like I said, y'all, for some reason, we're having little issues here. If y'all want to come on over to YouTube so we can put your comments on the screen, everybody can shout you out, see what's going on there.
Platinum Source, who's your number 8? Come on now. You gave us a 10 and a 9. Gave us Martel, Duggan. I can't remember who else, but so
yeah. All righty. Oh, wait a minute. Here you go, right here. Thank you.
That's pretty solid.
Oh man, I guess he want to switch his up.
There we go. That's a good pick.
Oh man. All righty. So, Mr. West, who you have for number 7?
All right, number 7. So when we kick things off and we're talking about number 10, I told you I struggled with the placement of 7 and 10. I almost had them swapped. Well, my number 7, man up, was your number 10, and that would be The Undertaker. So the reason I placed him higher than Ric Flair, when The Undertaker turned face in early 92, that really kicked off the tone of what his whole run was going to become. That silent, deadly killer that was always doing the right thing, even in an evil way. But Taker, after WrestleMania 8, again, he was in everything. He had the feud with Jake to kick off the year. He segued into the feud with Kamala that lasted through the summer. And then, before 93 and the whole Giant Gonzalez thing, 92 was the standard, set the standard for the Undertaker's face years. He was on absolutely everything. He was on almost every TV show they had. He was on every pay-per-view they had, and that was a year that it was okay to say that the Undertaker's cool, because when he was a heel and he was doing the dead man gimmick, it was cool, but you didn't really want to say it. You didn't want to say, well, that guy's dead. I'm a fan of his, even though he's a bad guy. But when he turned babyface and he saved Miss Elizabeth, it became okay to like the Undertaker, and he had a great year in 92. So that is my number 7.
Nice.
I gotta say that feud that he had, match or whatever, with Gonzalez, whatever, him, the 8-foot tall guy, that match sucked in my opinion. But hey, be that as it may, that's just my opinion.
It goes back to the Hogan days too, where
it's Taker's opinion. I'm sure he's done interviews on that before.
I'm sure the matches with Kamala were rough on him too, because Kamala wasn't there for his athletic ability or anything. He was in there because Undertaker suffered as a babyface from the same issue Hogan did. When you're that big of a guy and you're a babyface, you have to get big guys in there to get the heat on you. So that's where the guys like Kamala and Giant Gonzalez and these guys that looked big even next to the Undertaker had to be able to get the heat on him so he could be over as a babyface. So,
and that's a whole, not without going down a whole nother rabbit hole, what you just said, Hogan having to work with big heels that could get heat on him. That's the exact reason that my personal opinion why Ultimate Warrior didn't draw well as the WWF champion when he got the belt, because all the big heels that they had fed to Hogan. There was nobody left.
Yeah, so Earthquake should have been the guy that worked with the Warrior. If Earthquake had worked with the Warrior, it might have been a little better because that angle with Earthquake and Hogan went over pretty well.
Yeah. And actually, about 10 years ago, wrote an article for PW Mania about the Ultimate Warrior and them building up Earthquake, the only really hot heel in the WWF, and they fed him to Hogan instead of Warrior.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Segue.
No, you're right. You're right. And I'll go ahead and tell you generic jobbers number 7, Ron Simmons, the All-American. We'll get into that. We'll save some meat on the bone for that. We'll just keep talking. But number 7 for generic jobber Ron Simmons.
All righty. All right. Thank you there, Nesha. Appreciate that. Come on, everybody. Come on over to YouTube so we can post you here. All right. Who you got for number 7 there, Joey? Joey?
All right. We on number 7, right?
Yes.
All right. So my number 7, he was mentioned earlier, is Shane Douglas. Like, I was very impressed with Shane's return to WCW in 1992. And how lucky can you be that you end up being in a tag team with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat? But listening to Shane talk about that really, I mean, I was a big fan of them as a tag team too. I felt like it did a lot. And I feel like that was a tag team we didn't understand at that time, that we didn't think necessarily that it was going to gel together like it did. But, you know, Shane kind of described that as a very formative time for him, learning under the tree of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Well, him, Austin, and Pillman, all 3 of them getting to be in tag matches with Ricky Steamboat, where Steamboat was teaching him, especially teaching Shane, the timing you need to be a babyface in those tag matches and everything, and how hot they were. But you want to talk about, that's probably what did the most for Shane's entire wrestling career, was that time period right there. Took him from somebody people didn't care too much about to a star.
And I used to tell people, you know, whenever the Clique, you know, they did interviews, Barry and Shane Douglas, and saying he couldn't work. And I'm like, hey, did you not see Shane Douglas in 92 tagging with Ricky Steamboat and working some of those matches with Gordy and Williams and Rhodes and Wyndham? I mean,
yeah,
that's just insane for anybody to say that. I mean, again, my opinion, but
he carried a lot of guys in ECW to good matches too. Like, God knows, like his opponents in ECW lacked a lot to be desired, but he seemed to, I mean, with the exception of Terry Funk. Terry Funk is another one he was fortunate to work with over there. But you think about all those guys like Sandman and like that couldn't really work. You know, God knows Shane got matches out of them. So like, he's got to be able to work to do that. Like to make those guys work in ECW.
Can't argue with that. All right, my number 7 is going to be a guy who debuted late in 92 for the WWE, that is. Well, WWF, that is. But that's going to be this big man right here. Ooh. Let me say this real quick here. I was fooled with this guy. I did not know he was actually Samoan. I actually thought he was Japanese.
He doesn't even look remotely Japanese either.
I know.
Like, we just didn't know any better.
I didn't know.
I didn't know either. I mean,
but it's how he had the hair curled up. I ain't trying to get into all that because I ain't trying to trigger nobody. But it just, I don't know how to word it, man. But it came off to me as if he was. And then finding out, I want to say in the early 2000s that, you know, he was related to The Rock and all that. So it was kind of mind blowing to me. I'm like, what? But but be that as it may. Anyway, with this guy here, man, he had some great matches in his career. May he rest in paradise. But this guy here, man, was one of the, from what a lot of people be saying, one of the nicest, coolest guys ever. He helped people along the way get up in the business, and when they were struggling, helped them out on a personal level, that is. And you can't say enough about the great things that I've heard so much about him as a human being. So I had to put him, that's why I put him in number 7, some of the things that I've heard.
He literally squashed every opponent in 1992. Literally squashed them.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I think if you know, he debuted, he would definitely have been high on my list if he had debuted earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Just being so close to the end of the year, I didn't put him on there.
Yeah.
But a fun fact about Yokozuna in 1992, he actually worked Andre the Giant in Mexico in a 6-man tag match.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's something crazy to think about. Yokozuna and Andre the Giant in the same ring. So that's
they had to put some
Maximus or whatever
they had to put some reinforcements in that ring.
Yep.
All right, I see Platinum Swords here. He got Great Muta. Hey.
Yeah.
And I guess Nesha agrees with me. Nobody knew.
Well, most of us were kids in 1992.
Yeah, we didn't know. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was shocked when I finally found that out.
Now looking at him, it's like, no, he doesn't look even.
Yes, now we look back at it. We're like,
when you said debuted in '92, I was thinking, please be Battle Cat, please be Battle.
Oh man, oh that was a good one. But yeah, he fooled me, man. But that was a good one though. All righty, so who you got there for your next one there?
All right, number six was the man that was selected to replace Hacksaw Duggan, and that's Barry Windham.
Ooh.
Barry Windham. Yep. So Barry's 1992 was a pretty big year. He started off as a babyface. He started off with Dustin Rhodes. They won the tag team belts from Gordy and Rhodes. He won the TV belt from Austin for a couple weeks. He had a really good, most of the year as a babyface. He could have been plugged into the top spot in WCW at any point in time had they chosen to done so. To me, Barry Windham will always be a missed opportunity, for babyface champion for WCW at any point in time. And by the end of the year, they had turned him heel again. It wasn't too long after that. 93, he hurt his knee, and that was kind of the beginning of the end for his WCW run. But 92, that was his last really great year in WCW, and he's pretty universally remembered as an NWA WCW guy, for good reason. In 92, I was always a big Barry Windham fan. Enjoyed working with him as an agent, WWE, super nice guy. And that's my number 6, Barry Windham.
Hey,
nice.
Can't go wrong with that.
Generic Jobber has his Sting as his number 6. It's that WCW babyface for life, and he had to be on his list because he was hot in 92. I'm sure we're going to get to Sting. Don't worry.
Yeah, of course. You already know the top guys. They on everybody's list. All right, who you got there for your number 6 there, Joey?
All right, my number 6 was Big Van Vader.
Ooh.
Like, I don't even know if we need to get into this right now. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about Vader again, but it's like, man, he was scary as hell in 1992, just like Wes said earlier, like monster heel. Watching him destroy Sting like he did when he won the belt from Sting earlier in 92, and then carrying on later, and we'll get into the matches with Ron Simmons and everything in just a little bit. But yeah, Big Van Vader, 1992, he was, WCW World Champion on and off throughout the year and red hot.
Well, okay, I didn't want to interrupt. All right, my number 6 is going to be, I think you said Generic Jabba talked about it. I mean, come on, Sting. So, can't go wrong with Sting, man. Like I said, he's going to be on everybody's list. I'm going to leave some meat on the bone because I know Joey love him some Sting. But I'm going to say this here. When it comes to Sting, I know I always say I like Crow Sting, but I got to give Surface Sting some credit because that's who he was the beginning to started off, and also too showing all his athleticism and things like that for a man his size. You gotta love Sting, man. So I gotta give that man some credit on that one.
No doubt. 1992, he was red hot babyface the entire year. There's no doubt there. So
all right, so right here, I guess Nessa is telling us in 1992 she was 12 years old.
I was 12.
Platinum, I thought
more like the king of Mississippi.
Yeah, he was king of Mississippi. See, that's what I'm saying. See, I'm not the only one. I'm glad I feel better now. I feel
if they would have had a King of the Ring in '92 and Kamala went over and had King Kamala, him wearing a crown and cape, that would have been gold.
Yeah, it would
have. And there was no internet back then, so I couldn't see, that's what I'm saying. All right, Platinum Sword, my dumb thought Slaughter was for real.
We're all laughing, but we all
yeah, I'm glad y'all make me feel better now. Thank you. All right, Platinum Sword said he got Sting for his number 6. I mean, I'll take it for his number 6. Sorry.
Cool.
Oh man. All right, I needed that laugh. Thank y'all. All right, so who you got for your next one there, Mr. West?
All right, number 5. One of the all-time professional wrestling greats in 1992 was his last great year in the WWF, and I'm talking about the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh.
Macho Man, if you think about it, really think about it, that's the last year that they really fully utilized him to his maximum potential. You know, he started the year off red hot. He had just been reinstated. He had the feud with Jake. Got into the scrape with Flair, won the championship, the WrestleMania, held it for about 5.5, 6 months before he dropped it back to Flair. But even after he dropped the belt, he was still right up there. You know, he had that match with the Warrior at SummerSlam in Wembley. He continued to team with the Warrior leading up to Survivor Series. He helped facilitate Mr. Perfect's face turn, which to me, at 12 years old, that was huge. I was a big Mr. Perfect fan, heel or face. Yeah. To see him turn baby face was huge. Savage was, you know, you could make a case for Savage. To me, you could make a case for him as number 1. But, you know, as we get further down the list, we'll see some of the people that I felt had better years a little bit than him. But after 92, 93, they didn't really do anything with Savage. He wasn't even on WrestleMania as a worker. He was commentator. He wasn't on SummerSlam, you know. And in 94, you know, they used him so poorly in 94 that he was gone by the end of the year. So that was the last truly great WWF year of the Macho Man. So that is my number 5.
All right.
Can't go wrong with that. All right, what you got there, Joey?
I was waiting to see if generic drop. Oh, here's number 5, Stan Hansen. Talk about 1992 when All Japan was called the stiffest year in wrestling for a reason. This was Hansen's definite run and one with the Triple Crown belts. I would love to put Stan Hansen on my list, but I wasn't watching Japanese wrestling in 1992. Definitely wasn't. So much respect for Stan the Lariat Hansen. I'm a huge fan, but yeah, respect for that. Yeah, he was killing it. I mean, still probably had. I mean, he had the greatest clothesline in the history of professional wrestling. There's no like that thing. Looked like he killed people. Oh man! All right. Well, my number 5 is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
All right.
Again, we talked about it before. I want to especially point out the Iron Man match with Ravishing Rick Rude for the United States Championship at Beach Blast that year. That was a banger. Like man, Steamboat is probably the greatest utility player in the history of professional wrestling. He has to be. I mean, besides probably being one of, if not the greatest babyface of all time. But that guy could work with anybody. Steamboat made everybody better he got in the ring with. And him and Rude, again, just Rude's so good at playing off of a great baby face. They tore it up. But yeah, like you said, TV champion, you know, freaking working with Rude for the U.S. title, then a world tag team champion again by the end of the year with Shane Douglas and that hot tag team. Ricky was every spot it's like any position you put him in, he'll score.
Yep.
I love Ricky Steamboat, but anyway, I digress.
Well, I like your segue there, Joey. Again, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but that's my number 5.
All right.
Ravishing Rick Rude. You know what I'm saying? I know that's one of Joey's favorites, so I see him licking his lips. Get on in there. So
I'm not licking my lips. That's not my thing. And it's okay if it's your thing, but it's not my thing. I love Rick Rude, but not like that.
I didn't mean it like that, Joey.
You said I was licking my lips and stuff. I'm like, nah. A lot of people were, but I wasn't one of them. I'll tell you that. Ravishing Rick Rude is my favorite heel of all time, and we'll get to that. We'll
that's why I said I'm gonna leave some meat on the bone with this one because I know Joey wants to get on that one. All right, but yeah, I like Ravishing Rick Rude. He was a great heel. You know, he made you want to hate him. He really did. So, but let's go ahead and get into the comments here. You said you already got number 5 there, Joey.
Got Generic Jobbers number 5, yeah.
Oh, well, you said Stan Hansen. That's right. Okay. Yep. Platinum Swords here. Yes, Vader, his number 5. And Nesha, she says, nice choice. Thank you there, Nesha. I don't know which one she was talking about, but thank you. All righty. There, Mr. West, who you had there next there, kind sir?
So my number 4, I was a little generous with, and the reason is because this is one of my personal favorites, and I'm talking about the late great Roddy Piper. Roddy.
Keep your hand up.
So you're number 4?
Yeah,
Roddy Piper.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
What? No.
Oh, I messed that one up. I messed it up. Sorry. Okay. My bad. There we go.
Yeah.
sorry. I messed up. There we go.
So the reason I put Roddy Piper as number 4 was again, he was always one of my favorites, and to see him finally win a championship because to me, I had looked at wrestling this way. I looked at it this way as when I was a kid. I still to this day kind of look at it in some ways. You know, whenever people talk about guys like Jake Roberts and Rick Rude and Roddy Piper, when they're talking about the greatest wrestlers never to win the world heavyweight title, and you know, and then they make the argument. They say, well, he didn't need the title. You know, he didn't need the title. Well, to me, if you're in professional wrestling, you should be going for the title. That should be the ultimate. I know angles, storylines, but the whole reason you're supposed to be a wrestler is to win the championship. That was the way I looked at it. You know, why? Who wants to be a jobber? You want to be a champion. And I was so happy to see Roddy Piper finally get a crack at being a champion. I was happy to see him in the Royal Rumble. You know, he had a pretty good showing, and they made it, you know, the commentators make it a pretty big deal about him winning the Intercontinental title from the Mountie and then saying he could be the first person to win both belts on the same day. Obviously didn't happen. He had that classic match dropping the belt back to Brett, which, you know, is pretty common knowledge that Roddy didn't do a whole lot of favors. And he had a pretty short year. I think by SummerSlam, he played the bagpipes at SummerSlam, worked some house shows, but after SummerSlam, he was gone. So he had a relatively short year, but for the period of time that he was there, he just made such a huge impact. And to finally be able to see Roddy Piper with a championship just made him my choice for number 4.
I don't think anyone can argue either. He and Brett stole the show at WrestleMania 8. They took it. Absolutely. They outshined Savage and Flair easily, in my opinion, with the story they told. Like that was a masterpiece. Piper and Hart was.
I always thought Roddy Piper could tell a good story in the ring. My personal opinion. You know, even in his promos, he could tell a good story.
And his promos, yeah, I'm glad you said that because he was the type of guy that could turn a promo on a dime and make it look so real. The promo at WrestleMania 8, whenever him and Brett are facing off, at the very end of it, Roddy's starting to walk away, and Brett grabs him with his fist up, and he said, "I would have got you." And Piper has his hand up with the belt wrapped around it, has a leather belt, and he's like, "No, you wouldn't have." Bye-bye. I mean, it went from a wrestling promo to like two guys fixing to fight so fast. I mean, so.
All righty. We got any comments over there for number 4, Joey?
I was not prepared there. It's okay. Mr. Perfect.
Okay.
He's Generic Jobber says Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, one of his favorite wrestlers in 1992. Yeah, I love Mr. Perfect. He didn't make my list just because he spent most of the year not wrestling.
Right.
He was a manager for most of the year. Loved the comeback though in the tag match with teaming up with Randy against Razor and Flair though. That was a banger. That was a really good story though for Perfect coming back out of retirement like that. So.
All right, I messed up Joey's number 4, but you can go ahead, Joey.
No, that wasn't my number 4. That was my number 3 you put up there, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. My number 4 is Ron Simmons, the All-American. I love that moment. Him winning the WCW World Heavyweight title over Vader that caught me completely by surprise. We started that event out, that Clash of the Champions out, I believe. I think it was Clash of the Champions. With Sting supposed to be in the main event with Vader for the WCW World title, but Jake Roberts had debuted in WCW and attacked Sting and took him out, DDT'd him on a chair, and then later in the night they had a random drawing for an opponent for Vader, and it was Ron Simmons, and that place, the roof came off that building, like that was incredible, and Ron, to be able to power slam Vader like he did, he was pretty much the only guy in that company that could throw Vader around like a rag doll and make it look believable. Like nobody else possessed the physique and the strength that Simmons did at the time. But yeah, what can you say? First recognized Black World Heavyweight Champion in the history of professional wrestling, again, it's moments like that we don't really get in wrestling these days. Complete shockers, surprises that no one saw coming. No one saw that coming.
No,
it was huge for me.
Nope. Yeah, got it. Yeah. No arguments here. All right, my number 4. I mean, what more can you say about this man? I talk about him a lot in previous shows, and he's pretty much on almost every list that we come up with when we do these shows, every list of mine. I'm talking about the American Dream. I mean, what can you not say good about this man? Did he
wrestle in 1992?
Yeah, he did. I'm sorry.
I don't know if he had a match in 1992. I'm being honest.
I don't know. I did.
Yeah, when I looked it up, I can't think of everybody's name off the top of my head. But when I looked it up, he had only, drum roll, a total of 4 matches in 92 when I looked it up. But yeah.
Where though? He was in WCW doing commentary and stuff like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah. That's what it said when I looked him up. It said 1992, he had a total of 4 matches. I forgot my train of thought here. But yeah, Dusty Rhodes is one of those kind of lovable face guys that everybody seemed to love. He's like the hardworking man, the kind of man that everybody wanted to be like, because he was just one of those lovable characters, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, got to put him on my list there too as well. All right, let's go ahead and go to the comments here. Got Nesha says she loves Piper. She also says Piper Pit was one of our favorite of hers. And number 4 for Platinum Swords, he says Flair.
Okay.
All righty, who you have there, Mr. West?
All right, we're number 3. Number 3 is one that somebody's already been mentioned before, and that is Big Van Vader.
Yep.
Vader, to me, 1992, that was the first year WCW ever had like a killer world champion, like a monster. You can look back at some of the previous WCW champions, Flair, Luger, Sting, Funk, Rhodes, Race. They weren't monsters. They weren't killers. Vader was a monster.
Yeah.
And when he came in and, he had that weird deal with WCW for, 2 years where he would come do a random Clash of Champions or Great American Bash, squash somebody, and then you wouldn't see him again for 3 months. But when they finally ironed out that deal in 92 to get him there full time, he came in, he squashed Sting, and he was the man for WCW for the next about 18 months, 2 years, until Flair came back, until Hogan got there. Vader was WCW. And, again, the first monster heel champion, like we were talking about Rude earlier, he's a different type of heel. There's some heels that, they're so slimy you want to fight them, and that's what makes a good heel is like, I want to fight that guy. But Vader was not that guy.
Yeah.
You didn't fight Vader. You did not want to get in a match with Vader. He had a good 92. He had a short first run, dropped it to Simmons, got it back, and then closed out the year and was champion, for most of 93. 93, if this was 93, would be him and Yoko for the top two, but number 3 for 1992 is Vader all day long.
Well, to let you know, Jared Jobber's got Bret the Hitman Hart as his number 3. And we'll get into that in just a second, because my number 3, you showed it earlier, is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Sorry, I messed it up there. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah. Well, with great reason too. Again, like we talked about, the match with Piper, the story there, that whole angle was phenomenal. And that match at WrestleMania 8 was really a crowning moment for Bret, and really brought him out as a megastar.
Let me pause you real quick there. Want to know why? Bam, that's why.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say this too. Main event of SummerSlam as the Intercontinental Champion, losing it there. He main evented Wembley Stadium with the British Bulldog, over the WWF Championship. And then just a short time later becomes WWF Champion, tearing it up the rest of the year, having that banger with Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series. Even though it didn't draw a ton because they were both kind of coming off their tag runs and stuff like that, and they weren't the biggest single stars, they tore the house down at Survivor Series that year and had a great match. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's my number 3 as well, too. So we on that one. Well, I mean, come on, that's Bret Hart. Who's going to argue this? Y'all might argue he might not be number 1 or number 2, but come on, who's going to argue Bret Hart? Come on, man.
Pretty phenomenal in 92.
And I agree with you though too as well too, because I looked that up and it's like when he came off the tag and stuff like that, it's like, yeah. But I don't know. In my opinion, I think no matter what, he's one of those guys that you love no matter what, love or hate no matter what. Excuse me. All right. So next here says, great choice, love Dusty. Just in case mommy is smoking.
He's watching a game.
Oh, I'm like, that confused me on that one. Okay. And
he's watching this and a game.
Oh, okay.
All right.
And number 3 is See It for Platinum. Okay. I got that one confused. I was like, wait a minute, what?
As long as we don't talk about that match at WrestleMania 8, boy, that was a stinker.
Oh, man.
That was hot garbage there. All right.
Ooh-wee. All right.
We ran to our number 2s.
All right. Who you got there for number 2, Mr. West?
All right. My number 2 and number 1 is a coin toss. You could sit here and debate 1 and 2 all day long from my standpoint. But I went with number 2, the man called Sting. Yeah. Number 2. Sting, he came off of winning that Battle Bowl in summer at Starrcade in December 91. He started the year off chasing the belt again. He had that less than stellar first run after he won it from Flair, and then he lost it. And then you wanted him to win it back, but it never did seem like they were going to go in that direction. And I think had Lex Luger not decided to go to the WWF, they may have not went in that direction, but they gave Sting another run. He won the title from Luger at Super Brawl 2, held it for several months, had that awesome series with Vader, had the feud with Rick Rude, had the awesome War Games match, closed out the year feuding with Vader, won the Battle Bowl gimmick at Starrcade that year, 92.
He won the King of Cable tournament in 92 also.
King of Cable. That was what I meant.
Won a huge trophy for that thing too. He's my number 2 as well, so we'll just leave it at that.
So
he's my number 2 as well.
Yeah, Sting was let's not forget his feud with Cactus Jack in the Falls Count Anywhere.
I forgot about that, man.
So Sting had a hot year with a great variety of opponents. I mean, think about it. He had Luger, Vader, Cactus, Rude, all the Dangerous Alliance. I mean, so Sting had a heck of a 92. So again, easily to me, you could have slotted him in number 1, but we'll get to number 1 in a minute. But that's my number 2, Sting.
All right, nice. Joey already said what his number 2 is. Before you read that one, I'm gonna go ahead and put Joey's up on the screen. Anything else?
We talked enough about it. It's good.
All righty. All right,
I want to say generic jobber's number 2 is Mitsuhiro Misawa. Again, All Japan, and I was like, I wasn't watching All Japan in 92, so I don't know enough about that.
How old was he in 1992, and how the heck was he watching New Japan in
1992? Yeah, I don't know.
I honestly would.
I sure didn't have access to watching.
I want to know. I know. I couldn't even pronounce the names from the magazines.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Some people were into that tape trading thing, but you certainly must have been a little older. He says he was 16. Okay. Maybe you were into tape trading or something. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
All right, that's fair.
All righty, so let me go ahead and we brought up Joey's. My number 2, of course. Once again, we talked about him several times, and that's this guy, Shawn Michaels. The showstopper. Mr. WrestleMania. All the nicknames, the crazy nicknames you got. I mean, come on now. He's sitting there holding. Whose championship, whose IC title is that he's holding? Put that back on the screen. Who particular IC title is that? I look like Macho Man's Brasso title that he's holding.
Nah, it's just a belt with the plating starting to wear off. That's the one Brett carried and for all that time from WrestleMania to SummerSlam. So
I had to get in there because
the belt needed some replating done.
Yeah, when I saw that's the first thing popped in my head. Is that Macho Man's Brasso belt? I don't know. I couldn't tell, but that's what it looked like.
No, that was a completely different belt, completely made different.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and go to the comments here. Got to catch up on time a little bit here. All right, got Platinum Sword say he got a multitask. He says his number 2 was Carrier. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Has no clue about his demons as a kid. Of course, we all, we were kids. All righty, so who you got that for your number 1, Mr. West?
All right, real quick, I just kind of want to point out a couple of honorable mentions that were on y'all's top 10s that I didn't include. Just a brief second, if I had a brief second for that. I do want to say Stunning Steve Austin was one of my honorable mentions. The main reason he did not make the list is because I think 93 was his year. 92 was more of him warming up with that TV title. Even though he dropped it, he was kind of the bump guy for the Dangerous Alliance because you weren't going to beat Rude. You might beat Eaton, you might beat Austin. You're not going to beat Rude. So he was all over television. I think he was just warming up for 1993 and that great U.S. title run. If we were talking about 93, Austin's definitely on the list. To me, didn't quite make the cut. The other honorable mention that I had a hard time leaving off, if I could have had a 4A and 4B, in Piper's spot, I definitely would have included Ron Simmons. My main reason for not going with Ron was other than the brief 4-month title reign that he had, WCW did absolutely nothing with him the rest of the year. They didn't do anything with him from January until that surprise title win, which was, that was a great moment. Like Joey talked about earlier, the place came unglued. I think if they would have been planning further ahead and had him some credible world title opponents to work with, I think he could have had a longer run, done better as champion. But I mean, who was one of his first opponents after he won the belt? Wasn't Vader. Vader did another little stint in Japan. They had Ron Simmons working the Barbarian.
Yeah.
At the house.
Underwhelming, yeah.
You know, nothing against the Barbarian, but he's been a tag team wrestler for 5 years, and all of a sudden he's a world title contender. That didn't do Ron Simmons any favors. And then whenever and Ron had the couple matches with Cactus Jack, they took the belt off of him, gave it back to Vader, and then nothing. You know, Ron Simmons was basically done in WCW. So for that reason, he was an honorable mention. Not through any of his own fault, just, you know, bad booking choices. Okay. But my number one, drum roll, please. Somebody that has already been mentioned. Most of your number threes. Number one for 1992 is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Ooh, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Bret, to me, that was the year that he was no longer the former tag team wrestler. That was the year that he came into his own as the Bret Hart we know and love, the excellence of execution. You know, he started the first month off as the Intercontinental Champion, dropped the belt, had that the contract dispute, didn't work 92 Rumble, built up that awesome match with Piper, had a great run through the summer as Intercontinental Champion. He was on basically every television show defending the Intercontinental belt against everybody. We all know what he did at Wembley, and losing at Wembley, to me, is what put him to the next level. You know, even though the British Bulldog won the Intercontinental title in England, the star of that match was Bret the Hitman Hart. And then a month later, or 6 weeks later, something like that, won his first world championship, beat Flair, worked with Shawn at Survivor Series 92, defended the belt against everybody. He was on TV every week defending against Papa Shango, Kamala, Skinner. He was there. He was, he became a true champion. And to me, that was the year he became Bret Hart, the world champion that we all recognize today.
He was the first WWF champion we ever saw wrestle on TV that much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hogan was never on TV wrestling. Like you were lucky on a Primetime or All American Wrestling to get a promo from Hogan or a clip from Saturday Night's Main Event, where you saw a clip from a match he already had. But Bret was like on TV, like wrestling everybody from the bottom to the top. He wrestled Virgil, he wrestled everybody and put the belt on the line, which was a whole different feel for the WWF Championship because it had never been presented like that. Definitely. Generic Jobber's got the Great Muta as his number one, talking about being the IWGP Heavyweight Champion that year, beating Riki Choshu. Yeah. Again, couldn't follow Muta in 1992, but it definitely was a fan of his when he got to the States. We wouldn't see him in the States again until like 93, though, when he brought the NWA World title over to lose it to Barry Windham.
Okay. All righty. Another drum roll. I don't know if y'all can hear it. Who you got there, Joey, for your number one?
Well, of course, I'm partial, and I put Ravishing Rick Rude. He was my favorite wrestler in 1992, hands down. And there you see him with his Pro Wrestling Illustrated 1992's most hated wrestler of the year.
That's why I said I'm gonna leave some meat on the bone because I know
lost art.
I knew Joey wanted to talk about Ravishing Rick Rude, so I said I'm gonna leave some meat on the bone. But go ahead.
We talked enough about him, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah,
I want to throw one more.
Should be teaching classes on heel heat if he were still alive.
I'm for one more thing about Ravishing Rick Rude that we know he had that back injury that he received against Sting in April '94. Had to retire early, unfortunately. But we were robbed. We were about to get a Rick Rude face turn.
Yes, we were.
Because
he was going to work with Vader for that for the big gold belt, the world title, that world title.
There's promos from WCW Pro and some of the B shows of Ravishing Rick Rude cutting babyface promos on Vader, and the crowd is eating it up. And Pro Wrestling Illustrated, I still have a copy of this magazine, wrote a story about Rick Rude being a good guy. how they were supposedly the writer. I don't remember who the writer supposedly was, but they, sometimes PWI would try to leak stuff a little early. It would seem like, if they knew what was going on, and they wrote a story about Ric Flair being Rick Rude being a good guy, a babyface, and I think that would have been very, very interesting.
Yeah. Yep. I heard from some people too that he was slated to be in that spot Flair got where he unified the world titles and stuff too. Like he was, he had the world heavyweight title as recognized by WCW International, but he was the one that was set to be in that spot to unify the belts. I don't know if we would have got a long face turn though, because I feel like he was going to unify him and probably turn heel again to work with Hogan.
Yep.
I think we would have gotten that, but it still would have been nice to see how over he could have got as a babyface. Because I think, we were robbed, but Rude in 92, good Lord, heat magnet. But let's go on to Man Up. Well, who you got?
All right, my number one, we talked about this guy a lot. He's another guy that's pretty much always on one of my lists, and I'm talking about Mr. Ron Simmons here. I talked about, him winning the match, and he did not know he was going to win several times. He figured that out during the match itself. Words from him himself saying this. I can't say enough about this guy. So Ron Simmons had to be number one for me. All righty. Great show there, guys. Let's go ahead and get to our number one comments here. Okay. My honorable mentions is Sensational Sherry in her outfit. Boy, look at them. All right, number one, got Jake Roberts, should have been champion. Hey.
There was just never the right spot to make Jake the WWF champion. He just never was in the right place at the right time for that, unfortunately, because, again, he turned heel in 92, but we were robbed of that feud he was going to have with the Hitman, but I don't think he was ever going to win the belt. I think he was just going to work a program with Brett and help. But it would have, no disrespect to Shawn, but Shawn wasn't at that point on the card where he could really heat up Brett. Jake could have done that. Jake could have really heated Brett up as a babyface there. That's a shame. We almost got Jake the Snake and Brett the Hitman for the title at Survivor Series.
All right, that concludes the show. Let's go ahead and ring that bell. I'm messing up today. Long day, sorry. Anyway, with that being said, we want to thank everybody for joining us for our top 10 here of 1992. Want to thank our special guest here, Mr. Wes Adams. We appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome. Join us here whenever. You plan on coming back again soon?
Hey, my schedule allows it. I'm teaching night classes at the local community college, so my evenings are a little wonky. But
okay.
I definitely
we'll get back to it though. We will. We'll make it.
We're gonna get back with you. You're always welcome here. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah.
One more thing here before we go. I want to say thank everybody for joining us here on YouTube. We reached a good milestone for us here on the channel. We want to thank everybody for that as well too. We almost at that goal, so make sure y'all tell everybody, go tell your family, your friends, go across the street, tell your neighbor, tell your co-workers, you know what I'm saying? Tell everybody, even if they don't like wrestling. Subscribe to us here on YouTube because they could have a chance to win some awesome prizes. Joey, what else can they do for us on Facebook?
I challenge you, everyone out there, to make more fake YouTube accounts just to subscribe. No, I'm kidding. Just open up more of them. Just open up a ton of YouTube accounts and make all of them subscribe. No. So we're very happy. We're at 804 subscribers today, currently now. So we are going up there. When we reach 1,000 again, we're going to be giving away some great items. I've got an NWA Dome Globe element to give away. Man Up's got a VIP event share from a WWE live event that's, one of a kind, hard to get your hands on, a collector's item. So those things are coming up when we hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. And make sure you're in our Facebook group as well, because to win one of those prizes, you have to be both in the Facebook group and a subscriber on YouTube, because we're going to open the spots open on the Facebook group. But in order to enter, you'll have to drop your YouTube handle. And in order to win, we got to verify both. So make sure you are a member of the Facebook group and a subscriber on YouTube, whether you're seeing this live or seeing it later. And we thank everyone for their support.
All right. With that being said, for my tag team partner Joey and our special guest, Mr. West Adam, we want to thank everybody for joining us. Hope y'all enjoyed y'all day, enjoyed the show. Y'all have yourself a great one now.
Thank you, guys.